Welcome everyone to Unscripted Coding. Today I just want to show off a really cool tool, Google Fonts. If you are building a website or just about any sort of app, the font makes a huge difference. Whether it looks quite clean and quite thin versus ones with serifs to something more cursive. You have a very different presentation. Now, very recently, I was building this simple website. It can certainly use a lot more work, and we could talk about how these fonts can change. But the main idea here is that I would create a simple poster here. And what I wanted to show you is how changing the font can change the feel of your document, and that you can have a very different presentation, and you can create something very different by just switching out the fonts. And so Google Fonts are all free for personal and commercial use. You're not going to find everything in here. In fact, you're going to miss quite a few of the classics, but you're going to see such a huge variety that you're going to be able to populate your website. Now, what's really interesting is, number one, you can actually search for various categories. So for example, if you wanted monospace fonts, these are very useful if you're writing code, if you're doing a text editor, because the idea is that everything takes one space, monospace. Whether your character is very thin, like an I or an L, versus something quite thick, like a W or an M, they all take the same space. If you were to use some other font, for example, this one, you can see the T and the I take different amounts of space horizontally. Monospace doesn't. Handwriting, pretty obvious. You're looking at the cursive text. I'm not exactly sure what display is, but I think they're generally more larger, bigger type of fonts. Serifs and sans serifs are the more classic deviation. Serifs are these little, and let me zoom in, these little bits at the at each part of your text. So the W, you can see there's just little stops. If you look at the I at the top and the bottom, there's just these little horizontal lines. And this is more obvious when we compare it to sans serif. Look at the W. There's no horizontal lines at the top or the bottom. They're much cleaner. Generally speaking, you want sans serifs without serifs when you are looking for a clean look. Shorter words, shorter sentences. Serifs are there to help read text. It helps you recognize words quicker and faster. So there is actually a lot of art in picking out the right font. And you can read a lot of books and articles about it. But generally speaking, if you have long blocks of text, you want serifs fonts. And if you have something that's clean, like text on a button, just a quick prompt, you're going to want sans serifs because they're generally cleaner. So once you've selected that, you have different properties as well. Thickness, you can see some texts that are more slanted. So if you want a straighter text versus one that's more slanted, you can find the width as well, thicker, thinner fonts. You can also type text. So let's go unscripted coding so you know what you're looking for. All of this is hopefully helpful for you to pick out a couple. So let's say Roboto. I think this is a standard Android font. And of course, it's not loading. But what's really useful is that you can start adding a whole bunch of these. So for example, I really like this thin one. I'm going to add it to the side. And then I'm going to go back. Let's find something that's a handwritten font. And go with Architect's Daughter. Okay. Of course, let it load. And we're going to add it as well. What's really useful is that they tell you exactly how you can embed it into web pages. You can certainly download the font, and you can download all and load it through Microsoft and put it in Microsoft Word or Adobe Acrobat. But for me, what I needed was to put it on a website. So you'll see that you can just copy. You're going to get the Google API. You're going to pre-connect. And then you're going to download the fonts, basically. And they tell you what CSS rules to apply. So let me show you really quickly how that looks like. I've imported those 3 things in my head. And then I've created classes for each of the fonts I was using. So these are obviously different ones, but Cormorant, Graduate, just me again down here, and your font family, and so on. So you could use this and put it right into the style property, like so. Or, as I did down here, I have added my font class. And what I love about Google Fonts is they make it so easy. You don't have to worry about commercial rights. You don't have to worry about picking out a bunch of them. They make it really easy for you. So next time you're building a website, I know I'm very much guilty of this. This is the standard Bootstrap fonts, and they look fine, but if you really want to stamp your own identity, fonts are an easy one that people overlook and actually really cement your identity. So I hope you guys found that helpful, and hopefully I'll see some interesting fonts on your websites. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.